Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. This is episode number 84. 84 of the podcast. First football weekend is over. I am now sad that week one is over, but we have multiple weeks coming of the football season. And I have to say, as a fan of football as I am, there's nothing quite like week one. There's nothing quite like it. You get to see how your team is, how the league is, how the new the new setups, especially this year with the new broadcast announcers on different networks, are going to be. It's a fun time. It's a time to see how this is going to shape up and how this season will ultimately lead us to, either our joyful happiness or sorrow sadness. That probably doesn't make any sense, but ultimately you're going to wonder if you're going to be happy or sad. And it's also week one in fantasy. Week one in fantasy is in the books. And like I told you, I'm pretty sure I told you guys that I was spontaneously added to a league in my family, pretty much last minute, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. We'll do it. Let's have some fun. I wasn't planning on doing any fantasy, but I was like, hey, let's check it out. Why not? I ended up losing this week, which is tragic on my part. My opponent not so much, but for me, it was quite bad. I lost by a whopping 40-some points. Close to that. But to be honest with you, if I had played at least 8 other players in the league, maybe 7, I would have beaten every single one of them. But the fact that I played up against the dude in my league, who by far has the best team and performed so well, that I lost by 40 points, it's not bad. And I don't have a good team either. My team's pretty bad. So, while in the record books and in the standings and in, the league in general, it goes down as a loss, I'm going to take it as a small victory. A small victory. And that's what you kind of need in life, is small victories. Because small victories, while they're not big and massive and, feel good, they're still necessary because you need them to kind of feel a little bit like it's not all bad. It's actually kind of good. And don't get me wrong, me losing is not a good thing. But the way my team performed, and some people who were on the bench that did better than the starters, it's encouraging. It's encouraging. It makes me feel like, okay, I'm a couple moves away from actually being able to have a decent team and winning some games in fantasy. And that to me is positive, and I'm all about positive vibes. And, to me, that's a positive, and that's all I can look forward to. That's all I can look towards. There's no harm, or there's no reason for me to be a mopey mess and to just, throw in the towel and forget about the league and just kind of delete the app and just pretend oh yeah, I'm not in anything. Yeah, you guys have fun, but I'm just, what am I in now? No, I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna try, and I'm not gonna give up because it's only week one. At the end of the day, it's only week one. And I know in the past I've said that fantasy football is in fact pretty much all luck, and it is all luck. And I think I've said that at the beginning. If I had played anybody else in the league, almost anybody else, I would have whooped their ass. But that's just not the way the cookie crumbles. The cookie crumbled, and so did my team. My team crumbled. But we can only look up from here. That's what we have to do, and that is my fantasy update. And normally when I was younger And when I would do fantasy football, the my team would pretty much let my entire mood and my outlook on life, it would pretty much burn it to the ground. When I was younger. I'm a little older now, a little wiser, and I appreciate the sport of football itself more than I care about football itself more, like the NFL, more than my fantasy team now. More than my fantasy team. I just, I enjoy watching the games and looking at the storylines and seeing who's doing what and who's going where. I enjoy that more. And I just find that, I don't need to ponder and just absolutely, sink because my fantasy team loses, even though I put money on the line, but we'll get it done. We'll get it done. But a great weekend in terms of football. Lots of football, even more football ahead. Just coming up to Thursday night football with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. That's going to be interesting. We just had the Monday night with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, which I was not able to watch live because my power went out, people. My power went out for about 7 hours. 7 hours of no power. Now, thank Christ that it wasn't super hot, but you can only imagine when it gets to around 5 o'clock and it's about, football time, and your boy can't pop on the tube and watch the game, things don't look so good, In my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to be watching football right now, but also when the hell is his power going to be on, because we all kind of need it. And this just shows you how much it would suck if we didn't have power. Think about it. I was making dinner without any power. No lights. I had to get some flashlights and a lantern just so I could see the food that I was cooking. And my God, that is so hard to do, even in the neighborhood. You think that just because you go camping, you're on the wilderness and the wild, that it's hard there? No. If you're if the block across from you has power, which they did, and you don't, it kind of feels like that you're just you're being stranded, and you're like, but there's civilization right there, but I'm over here, and then you're like, I can't really do much either. What am I gonna say? Hey, can I borrow your light? Can I borrow your stove? Can I borrow your oven? No, it's I was just cooking with a flashlight, and I felt like a moron doing it, because I feel like, number one, it wasn't super cool. So when I was barbecuing, I couldn't go back into a cool house and cool off. And it was just about the same temperature, or if it was a little bit cooler, but just for some reason, I wasn't able to cool off. And it just kind of, gives you perspective that when it is hot outside, you're grilling outside, and then it's hot out and the grill is hot, and naturally heat, you get even hotter. You want to go inside to a nice cool house, and just being in the pitch black for, close to a full hour. That's what it felt like making dinner. It's tragic. If the power grid does go down, one day, and it will, that's going to be rough for a lot of people. I couldn't even open my fridge for 10 hours because I was afraid everything would just, the coolness would leave, and we wouldn't be able to, we have to throw away the food. You got to be careful. When you have the power outage, you pretty much cannot open that fridge because you let out all the cool air, and therefore it can't stay trapped in the refrigerator, and then your food will spoil. I was very, very careful about that. Thank God we didn't open the fridge, so we just, we opened it for a second. That was an hour before it came back on, so it wasn't too bad. And luckily when we opened it, the food was still cold. So we didn't just have to throw out all the food that we bought. That would have sucked. Could you imagine that? You buy a bunch of food for your family, for everybody to eat, meats, produce, milk, eggs, juices, and then your power goes out, and then you gotta throw it all away because it's spoiled because you accidentally opened the fridge one too many times, and the power did not come back on within the time for it to rebound the coldness. God, that would absolutely be terrible, absolutely terrible. But yeah, I mean, besides me missing out on the football, Monday Night Football, it was okay. It came back on. Then it went out again, though. It went out again. And then I was even more pissed off. And then I got to worrying, actually. I was thinking, like, okay, well, it was on for like a good 10 minutes, and then it went out again. Is there a bigger problem, or are they just trying to test something out? And luckily, when it came back the second time, after about 15 minutes, it stayed on. And I'm like, all right, don't go out again because I can't deal with that anymore. I can't. Human beings nowadays are so adept and used to being around power and hearing humming of your AC or hearing a beep of your TV or, a microwave or something like that. We are no longer used to dead silence when it comes to or ambient nature noise anymore. We're just kind of grown out of that. That's no longer a part of our anatomy and how we surround ourselves. If you think about it, like I can no longer go that long not hearing anything on, right? Like if I go camping and I hear just nature sounds and rivers and owls and eagles and bears and all that, just and nature just making its noises, I will freak out because I'm not used to it. I'm not used to the AC or the heater on. I'm gonna lose my mind. It becomes unnatural to me. I don't like it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I would, something in my head would trigger like that gene that is used to that primal gene that I think we all have, that we can go back to that. But when I first go back to it, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I could, handle it. It might just be so like, I would be so terrifying that, I wouldn't know what to do. I would be like a deer in headlights, or I would be like a fish out of water, literally, for that, that period of time. I'd be like an ant if something blocked my way. I would not know where to go or what to do. I would just cry and scream, and it would be terrible if you think about it. I mean, if people who know me too know how easily that I tend to overreact on things, and easily I make situations even worse than they even need to be. It's not not a power or a gift, it's a curse that I wield. And it does nobody any good. And it's gotten to this point in my life where I've realized that, but it's like genetics. I can't shake it. I can't escape it. It's just a part of me. And no matter how many times that I want to stop to overthink a bad situation, the more I just overthink it and I make it even worse. Like, I even take, for instance, the power going out. I thought that, what if the company, PG&E, cannot figure it out? And what if, like, we are out of power for days because either one, they don't know how to fix it, or two, it is so badly damaged that they need a whole nother unit and it all costs like, a couple days for it to get here. I was thinking like, I kind of can't do this. I got, people have work to do. We got to get things done. I got to eat too. I don't want just, all my food in my fridge. I'm going to have to freaking toss that and throw that away. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like that kind of stuff just kind of gets in my head, and it's unshakable. It's horrible. I admit it. It's so bad. It makes everything worse. And it kind of it deteriorates my thought. My thinking process is no longer up to speed, and I feel like I lose IQ points, and I just focus on like the bad and not the good or the logical. The logical just goes out the window, and I slow down, I'm out. I'm no longer usable, or not usable, but I'm no longer resourceful, and I'm no longer a team player, and I'm just like, I'd rather just not be there, honestly, if you think about it. But it came back on, and I prevailed, and I succeeded, and I didn't let it get to my head. I could never survive a zombie apocalypse ever, because I would panic too much. I would panic too much, especially if the zombie apocalypse is like, let's just take for instance Walking Dead. If it's just like Walking Dead, where you get a scratch or you get a bite and then you become infected, I could not survive that, because I would be so paranoid and I would be so clumsy that I would just open a door and like boom, a zombie there, and I would just immediately get scratched or bit, and then boom, I'm dead. I'm over. Boom. Oh, it's over. I'm now a Zambamo, and it's over. I could never survive that. Never survive a zombie apocalypse. No way, no how. Just not in my wheelhouse. Not in my not in my equipment tool. What is it? Not in my bag of tricks. Nothing I could do about that. Now, if we were invaded by aliens, I think I could survive that more. Because, for one, my friends are not dropping like flies and becoming zombies. That's different. They would probably just straight up die. But I would have hope and courage and strength to fight back against the aliens, no matter how much more advanced they are. And I would push forward and try my hardest and inspire people and even become like a general or some kind of leader in the fight. And I would try my hardest. And a zombie apocalypse, I probably might just give up, because it's just so depressing and it's so sad. At least an alien invasion, might be kind of fun, might be kind of cool to survive that, to build up support the world, fight for the planet, for Earth. We are no longer just human; we're now Earthlings. We have to defend the planet. That'd be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. And always in every zombie medium or form of entertainment, it always ends up the same way. The zombies are no longer like the big issue. Yeah, they kind of are, but like they're more on like the background. And then the real bad guys are the people, the humans that need your resources, and they will kill you for that, or they will kill you for your territory and stuff like that. It just becomes like like the wild, wild west, but in the worst like circumstances of all time. And it's like, I don't want to live that. This is horrible. Can we just, go to can we just get some aliens here just to invade and not have a zombie apocalypse? I mean, if it was up to you people, would you rather have a zombie apocalypse or a alien invasion? I'm taking alien invasion 100%. No question about it. Absolutely no question about it. I think that I'm well more capable in my own being, and I think humans are more capable in storming back against aliens than zombies, because zombies, you'd have to kill whoever's bit. What if your mom is bit? You have to kill your mom or run away from your mom. It becomes a bad thing. It becomes a really sad and depressing thing. Whereas an alien invasion, yes, it's depressing and sad, but there's a little bit of hope, and you have that fight in you. Unless they completely vaporize the planet all at once and we have no shot, it'd be pretty depressing, but it'd be over pretty quickly. Zombie invasion, the zombie apocalypse is a slow burn. That kills people slowly. Look at The Walking Dead. Look how long that's taken. Like fucking 10 years. They're still not done. Jesus Christ, I would give anything for Daryl and Carol to get infected so they can stop this show. I'm sick of it. I'm done. Look at these other shows that AMC went through back then. Turn, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and The Walking Dead is still going on. Still going on. I swear to God, man. Just infect all of them and let them become zombies and then end the show. If you don't have a definitive ending or know how to end this show properly, just kill everybody off. It might make sense. Also, in that show, is there a cure? Is there like even a treatment for this zombie virus, or is it just a lost cause and nobody knows what they're doing, and it's just like, fuck it, just get a crossbow, get some arrows, and shoot them all. That's it. Get a sword, get a revolver. Like, who knows? Like, I have no idea. I stopped watching that show like maybe 6 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I just quit. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. If they don't know where they're going, I'm not gonna watch it, because this is just sad. It is just sad. You know what else is sad though? I'll tell you what's sad. You know what is sad though? Is the MCU at the moment. The MCU. Now, I haven't talked about the MCU in quite a while because, I started watching She-Hulk. I'm not going to review every episode, every week, because I don't do that. I normally just, give my opinion for the first episode or the premiere episodes, and then I give you my thoughts at the end of the show when it finally concludes. However, I told you guys this many episodes ago that I was actually, I think it was maybe back in like May or April or June, that I was going to go see a little Marvel movie called Thor: Love and Thunder. Well, I never did get to see it in theaters because I just kind of, never got to it, and I heard some things about it. I heard that it was not very good. Some people said it was really bad. Overall, critics and audiences had a very, very mixed, and I mean like super mixed, and almost like divisive opinions on this movie. And I thought to myself, well, I'm like the king of being divisive. I'm like the king of being in the minority on certain things. I'm never going to be, number one, a shill, a fanboy, and I'm also never going to be a hater either, because I feel like I'm neither of those, to be honest with you. And it is only in pure, justice that I watch this movie, and I will take what I've heard from my friends and people who have seen it and have told me about it, and I will take that to heart, and I will hear their thoughts and opinions. But when I go to a movie or watch a TV show or play a game or whatever, I'm going to go into it in my own mind, my own single mind, and watch it through my brain, watch it through my eyes and my lens, and see how my brain processes media, entertainment, So I finally got around to seeing it, Thor: Love and Thunder. I let off with this. This movie is terrible. This movie is terrible. As soon as I started, I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is all right. I enjoy this. But the more it went on, the more it kept going, and what happened as it was going, I'm like, oh my God, like this movie, like you could feel the writer and director not give a shit about anything that he shot or wrote in this movie. Just did it to, from what I can tell, did it for the check. I'll be completely honest. This movie felt like such a cash grab and such a little bit of a mismarketing. A little bit, just at least like the coolness of it, because let me just tell you this right now. I was a gigantic fan of the Thor: Love and Thunder trailers. They were so cool. They utilized Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine to my heart. They got me. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be lit. I'm in. I love Thor. Thor is pretty cool. Oh, look at that. It's Natalie Portman. I'm a big fan as well. Let's see where this goes, because I'm not some kind of nerd who's going to be like, what? Thor as a lady? I don't care about that. I just want to see how it goes, how they work this into the story. And I'll be honest, it's not that great. Like the entire thing, Thor's story, Natalie Portman's character, the villain is decent, and that's pretty much it. Everything is people say it's a comedy. I didn't laugh once. I thought that the comedy was super untalented, super uncreative comedy. It was more like laughing at itself. If that's what I could describe Thor Love and Thunder, is that it's a movie that thinks it's funny and it's laughing at its own jokes. 100%. Because the arrogance and the delivery in these jokes performed by the actors, and even just like things that happen, like someone would fall or somebody would lose their clothing. It just feels like it's so on the nose and on purpose that it feels like the movie did not care how it would have been received. And they just be like, oh, it's Marvel. It's got the Marvel Studios stamp on it. People will love it. I got a response for you, Marvel. I did not love it. In fact, I thought it was one of the worst Marvel movies ever created, ever shot, ever filmed, ever written. And I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I think I might actually put this movie below Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Because not only is it a disrespect to, well, my time, for one, it disrespects Thor, great, to great odds. Even though I'm not a Thor fan, I enjoy him in his movies. I don't give a fuck about his comic books. Sorry, nerds out there. But I feel like the character in the MCU, Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, is no longer the Thor that we saw in Thor 1 and grew up all the way into Infinity War and became this joke in Endgame because he's now fat. And now Thor Love and Thunder Thor is just even more of a dumbass, stupid, and a joke of himself. Like, he's not funny, even though he tries to be funny. He tries very, very hard. Just it's not funny. And the fact that people were saying that this was a straight up comedy, I was actually puzzled because I'm like, well, where is the comedy? I'm not seeing any comedy at all. The only thing that makes me laugh in this movie is Korg. And that's because it's voiced by Taika Waititi. Because he's a comedic actor. The guy is. You can't deny it. He's just, his line delivery, the lines he writes for Korg, the little situations. It's that part. His character is reserved for the comedic relief. Once you start to make the movie itself comedic relief, like a comedic relief movie, it just kind of seems like they don't care. And it's like, what happened here? Why is it just like the entire movie became like just some 2-hour movie that doesn't care about itself? I mean, I don't know why that was. What pointed them in that direction? Whose choice was that? But I'm here to tell you, man. I'm here to tell you. It just wasn't good. In fact, it was terrible. Terrible. Mediocre. Laughable. I mean, as bad as Thor is, and as stupid as the story is, and as dumb as the movie is, and as very anticlimactic in what they're doing, you almost have to double take and be like, wait, why are they doing this? Oh, that's why. Oh, that's why? That's how I felt. I'm like, oh, really? Ugh. All right, let's get it over with then. And just hope it, ends in a pretty decent way, which it never does. But I think that when you can get, if you're like me, and you can smell bullshit, and you can smell when a movie just doesn't care about itself, and doesn't care about the people watching it either, I easily get turned off. I easily just kind of shut off. There was multiple points where I wanted to shut this thing off just because of how stupid and just it didn't take itself seriously. So many parts. I just was like, I just want to quit this. Like, this is just so bad. But I didn't. I stuck with it. I tried. The end fights are pretty cool. They're pretty cool, but nothing that hasn't been done better in other MCU movies. I don't know why I got the notion that this was going to be a big grand movie. Maybe because the trailer got me and it was just sounded like it was going to be a big giant plot. which it kind of is, but they make it seem so slow and so pathetic that it's like, oh yeah, I mean, like, why would they make this cool? Right? Why would they even make this grand? You know, there's a lot of scenes in this movie where it's like, why does this look so bad? Like the not just because of like the effects, but how it's kind of shot and like where it's shot. There's a lot of parts of this movie that are shot in like the new Asgard area, and that's on Earth and that type of stuff. And I'm like, hold on, aren't these like super big budget movies? Why are we taking place in this part? Like this just it seems like it's like this story was just, you know, the way it is because they had no money for this movie. And that's why it's not as fun to watch or not as epic as you think it would be. It just seems like it's so small. And I wouldn't have thought that for a movie about Thor, especially after like Ragnarok and all those movies. It just seemed very small and very like who gives a shit, you know? I don't know. There's some really cool effects, but for the most part the effects are pretty contained, and you're just like, why did this movie cost so much money to make? I mean, like, there's some scenes with Zeus in like this god city where all the gods meet up, all the Norse gods, Greek gods, Roman gods, they all kind of meet up and like chill out because, you know, they're gods, you know, they're the people that create things and, you know, whatever, all that bullshit. And that looks pretty cool. Like, it looks visually pretty nice. They kind of ruined that though with like they kind of ruined like that entire sequence, I think, with Zeus, played by Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe plays Zeus, and if you don't know who Russell Crowe is, he's like a big time actor. He played Maximus in Gladiator, and he's back now as Zeus. And you know, at first glance, you're like, yes, Russell Crowe as Zeus would be epic. The visuals, the way he looks, the armor, very cool. It kind of fits. You know, he's got a voice that would fit Zeus, and he's got like a, you know, an older vibe. Like, oh, he's wise. That's what Zeus would look like because he's older, and he's an old god. And Russell Crowe is older. It makes sense. You know, it's a good casting on appearance. But then the man opens his mouth, and you immediately don't even want to hear him speak ever again. And even in the movie, they point out, this is a joke, right? They say that once he starts monologuing. And I'm like, this movie is disrespecting me on so many levels. They made Russell Crowe not even a joke, just an insult. Just a slap in the face. Like, at no point in any of Zeus's dialogue was I laughing. I can't imagine how absolutely nobody would be laughing at any of these theaters, you know, when they watch this movie. Like, there is no comedy in this movie. It's actually it's incredible. Coming from somebody who is known for comedy, and Taika Waititi has made a very, very, very unfunny movie. It's actually insane. But I guess, you know, that's what you can kind of expect now with Marvel, is not giving a shit, taking the piss, and just trying to laugh in your face about it. I mean, it made like I think close to $800 million, which is pretty decent, but you know, they wanted that billion, and it kind of it makes me happy to see that it did not, because as I'm watching, I'm like, there's no way that this movie has any rewatchability that people would go back and see it. You know, people saw No Way Home so many times. I mean, I saw it like 2 times. My sister saw it 3 times. Like, people are just going to go see that movie. I did not see any rewatchability in this movie one bit. Thank God it kind of showed in the box office total. Thank Christ. Oh man. Now I don't want to come off as sounding like I wanted this to fail. I really didn't. I did not want this to fail, and it didn't fail by any means. By any means of the imagination, it did not fail. I'm just happy that people that I know and that I've talked to see it for what it is, as a slap in the face. I'm not even gonna say joke because it wasn't a joke. It just wasn't a joke. And if it wasn't a good joke. Then that's just not a joke. It's an embarrassment. Thor: Love and Thunder is an embarrassment to cinema and to Marvel, which I don't even care about Marvel, but it's an embarrassment to cinema that graced screens in movie theaters. I can't believe it. I can't believe someone's art piece, someone's movie that they actually spent time and effort on to making it so good, and for something that people want to see, was kicked out of theaters because Marvel put out a new Thor movie. That was an embarrassment. It's incredible. I can't fathom that actual good art and good cinema was straight up cut out and sliced down and struck down by the hands of Marvel to put on Thor: Love and Thunder, which is an absolute embarrassment. Embarrassment to film. It's sad. It truly is sad. I'm like tearing up right now because this movie is so bad. But I watched it on Disney Plus, so technically I did not pay for it, even though I pay a monthly subscription to Disney for that. I ended up paying much, much, much less, and I feel great about it. I didn't have to drive to my theater to see the film and have to fill up my tank to reconsumption my gas. That's probably not the right word for it, but I feel good having watched it on Disney Plus and not watching it in theaters, because I think if I did, I would have felt bad about it. I would have felt even worser than I feel now after watching it. But, thank God I don't feel worser, because, yeah, I feel pretty bad. I feel like I just wasted a lot of time, but it could have been much worse. I could have made a day out of it. I could have drove into the theater. I could have gotten a popcorn. I could have gotten a soda and watched the trailers for movies and then watch that embarrassment and then drive home, be like all depressed and like, I wasted money and gas and a $20 ticket to see this heaping pile of dog shit. But I actually feel much better now that I did not do that. So thank you, Marvel. Thank you, Disney, for exposing yourself as embarrassments and as not even jokes. You don't get to be called jokers because you're not funny. And just, I mean, you still robbed me of my time because I wanted to see what was happening, what was going to happen in the MCU, and I was going to shape up for the future. Oh, and guess what? You don't know what's going to happen in the future because that movie literally does not even feel like it's part of the MCU. It's just part of Thor, which at this point it's like, okay, he doesn't change at all. He's like the same. It's a big waste of time. Thor does not there's no thing that happens in this movie. It's like, oh, well, I can't wait to see how this plays out in the future Marvel movies, or what's this going to be for the next Marvel movie? No, there's nothing in this that you're like, oh wow, this is major repercussions in the MCU. No, nada. It's just a big waste of time, an embarrassing waste of time, and yeah. So maybe I'll title that this episode. An embarrassing waste of time. People might think that's where the show's going now, or this episode might be that. But whatever. If I were to pick one good thing about Thor: Love and Thunder, it would be Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher, and that's about it. He plays him so well, but he's not in the movie for that long, and he doesn't do anything that's super that you feel like, oh shit, Thor's might lose. Ah! No, it's just playbook after playbook of Marvel's playbook of villains, and make it mediocre as fuck and embarrassing as fuck, and just move on to the next one. So yeah, that's my rant, I guess, on Thor: Love and Thunder. If I were to give it a score, now from what I've gathered, and now I've really expressed my thoughts and my opinions on this atrocity of cinema, actually a disrespect to cinema. I'm gonna have to give this one a 3.7, no 3.4 out of 10. It was just a waste of my time. It's got like a 6.6 on IMDb for the audience reviews. I feel like that's a little too high, but in looking at other Marvel properties and other Marvel movies and TV shows, it's definitely worser than the other ones. So, hey, at least the audience is honest. I mean, I feel like the more that I think about that movie, the more disrespected that I get. And that's something that I just don't want to, I don't want to, feel. I don't want to feel like I've been disrespected. It's just not something that I seek out. I don't want to seek out the feeling of being disrespected. I don't think anybody really does. But, as much as I say that, as much as I don't want to be disrespected, I'm still getting disrespected. Not just by Marvel, but by Disney now. Disney. Yes. The castle. Na 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 na. Those motherfuckers. They had their freaky nerd convention of stuff that they own, and they're showing off all the stuff that they own and the stuff that's coming up because they can, apparently. Which was a lot of stuff was shown off, and a lot of stuff was, teased, and people came out on stage and talked about, oh, I'm going to be in this, and I'm going to be in that, and we're making this, and we're making that, and a lot of the general public didn't see some of the stuff that was shown there because we didn't pay for it. We're at our, sitting on our couch on our computers trying to get updates, and like, Disney's like all being coy and like, you are the privileged ones. You will see what we've got next. Stay tuned. But what I'm trying to make the point here is the stuff that they have released, the movies, the shows. I'm not impressed. For one, it seems like we're getting back into the swing of the remakes, which is now, I guess, popular again. I mean, if you think about it, COVID-19 was kind of a blessing because we halted Disney in their tracks for giving us remakes of timeless Disney movie classics, Disney animated movie classics. Pandemic's pretty much over. Everyone's back in theaters. We're going to pump out the remakes now. I mean, we have so many remakes on the horizon from Disney. It's disgusting. It's truly disgusting. It almost makes me feel that Disney no longer has Imagineers. Like, Imagineer, they've coined that term as, we use our imagination and we use it to engineer things. We engineer imagination. And we think of new ideas and we put them out there to the world, and we inspire people to become engineers and to work with us and to create new stories and create new things. And meanwhile, what are we getting? Well, what just came out? Pinocchio. Ugh. What's going to come out? Snow White, The Little Mermaid. Oh my God. A Mufasa movie? I mean, do I need to keep going? I think that's, do I have to keep on going? This is first of all, let me just give you some backstory. Let me give you a little bit of backstory. I'm not a gigantic fan of the Disney remakes. I like two of the ones that they've made. Only two. I enjoy quite a bit The Jungle Book, which was like one of the better ones. At least good enough for me to want to watch it twice. That one was actually pretty good. I quite enjoyed that one. I thought it was, it wasn't a complete remake. Of course, it was a little bit different than the original. You would expect that. But, visually it was stunning. Cool cast. You gotta love Bill Murray as Baloo. Fantastic. And it changed it up a bit, and it was cool enough, and it looked cool, and it was emotional, and it was sick, it was funny, it was cool, and the songs, it was cool. and it worked for me. Number 2 is kind of a little bit of a guilty pleasure, I would say, or something that you're kind of ashamed for liking, is the new Aladdin. The new Aladdin is downright funny. I mean, Will Smith kills it as Genie. The movie itself has such an adventure-y tone that it's fun. It's hard to not like that part of it. If you can get past Will Smith as is being Blue, and he looks kind of fake in the movie too, but if you're a Will Smith fan like me, this is before the slap too. It's pretty fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I think it's a fun time, and it's not too tied to the original. It's got its differences, which I think is pretty cool. And that's it. I didn't give a fuck about Beauty and the Beast. I didn't give a fuck about Cinderella. Did not care at all for The Lion King. In fact, The Lion King actually disrespected me on being literally a copy and paste of the animated film and having zero emotion, whereas the other one, the animated one, had 1,000% emotion, while the live action one, or live action, had 0% emotion. That story is all emotionally driven by sorrow and fear and courage, and you get absolutely none of that in the live action film. It's such a disgrace. It's such an embarrassment that once I watched it, I never wanted to see it again, and I could not believe that I actually gave them money for that. I never forgive myself for that either. I have never forgiven myself for giving them money to watch that embarrassing ass movie take place. And it's not movie. That movie was definitely not cinema. Definitely not cinema. But this is like this has become my crusade for cinema. I've been I'm just kind of rediscovering like all the movies that have come out that are just have destroyed cinema, like Thor, Lion King, all the fucking Disney remakes. Even though some of them are pretty good, they're still not cinema, in my opinion. But yeah, it's pretty bad. It's actually gotten worser. It's no longer fun. I think that it just becomes at this point when you get even more coming, like Snow White, like The Little Mermaid. No matter what they do to them, it doesn't come off as original and as creative to me. I don't care anymore. I really don't. I don't need to see, as beautiful as The Little Mermaid sounds, like she sounds so beautiful, and just sounds just like Ariel, and it's probably going to be amazing. The Little Mermaid at that, it's probably just going to be the same fucking story. The same goddamn story. Like, who cares? Like, there comes a point, I think, when, especially when you get older, like myself, when you grew up with something that you loved, and you see them do it again, for instance, The Jungle Book, and they do a pretty good job, and you're like, yeah, that was fun. And then you watch something that, that you also love in Aladdin, and they do a pretty good job, and you're like, yeah, cool. And then you watch something that they do that you loved back as a kid in The Lion King, and they butcher it, like, ugh, never again. It just comes to a point where you're like, they're not really, they're not surprising me anymore, They're the same thing. Like, I've seen that already. I don't need to see it again with a person. You get my point? Like, it's just like, I don't want to watch something just to be like, yeah, that was cool. No, that's stupid. I always want to watch something to potentially be wowed, to potentially be like, not expect that, to potentially be like, yeah, that was better than I thought. Not to be like expected, or like pretty good, or decent, or better than okay, or mediocre, or bad. I feel like with these remakes, when they do that, they immediately like take away the factor that this movie can be great, and they'll just settle for it to be decent. That's how I feel, because they don't want to change anything too harshly. That way it's not the same story, but they'll leave it, uninspired, and just kind of very dull. They'll make it dull. Like the most recent one that I've seen was Mulan, the new Mulan. I immediately did not want to. My sister bought it on Disney Plus Premium because of the pandemic, and I was like, I can't believe you spent money on that. I would never have spent money on that because that was such a shit show. You should get a refund because I literally can put on Mulan, the cartoon version, and actually have a good time watching that instead of the human Mulan, the live action Mulan, which is just it's a cash grab. It's just so sad. And I just I feel like enough's enough. Don't call yourselves Imagineers if you're not going to create anything new with your imagination. And I'm sick of tired of hearing this this word that is thrown around a lot in terms of the Disney remakes. The word is called reimagination. Get the fuck out of here with that. Get the fuck out of here. That's so stupid. That is so dumb. We know what it is. It's a remake, not a reimagination. Maybe we should be reimagineers. That's all you're doing is just reimagineering it. You're just trying to back engineer it and make it with humans. So stupid. I hope Disney hears this. And they're like, yeah, maybe we should make something better. Maybe we should make something better. Why? How come we haven't had a live-action Mickey Mouse movie? What the fuck is that all about? He's a flagship cartoon of that company. Where the fuck is our Mickey Mouse movie? Why was he not like a cameo in Ratatouille back in the day? Oh, even worse, I didn't even talk about Pixar. Fucking Inside Out 2? Are you kidding me with that? Inside Out was an incredible movie. An original, a new idea. That's where Imagineering was taking place. Now we're getting Inside Out 2. Now, let's think. Other than Toy Story, which other Disney Pixar properties has had decent sequels? The answer is none. Come on, man. Just use your brain for once, Disney. Stop being so lame. And stop being so, reimagineering. Get that shit out of my face. That word, to me, Imagineer, or reimagining a classic, that is so disrespectful. It is so embarrassing, and it what do you think you're doing to the people who originally created that animation? Who originally created The Jungle Book, Snow White, Cinderella, The Lion King, all that shit that you've remade with people in it, to not be anywhere as good as the original. And don't tell me that it's hard to do it, hard to make it good. Bullshit. You have enough money to hire anybody you want to make it good. Yet you don't make it good. You make it shit because it's like, well, we've already done it before. People, it puzzles me when they interview these people about remaking a classic. Like, they'll be like, well, you see, in the original, we kind of didn't want to do that again, like the same as the original. It's like, you're making the movie anyway. What are you talking about? You can't even say that because you're remaking the shit. It's just so embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I wasn't going to plan on talking about this, but my buddy hit me up today, and he's like, hey, why don't you give your thoughts on what you want to see in the new Modern Warfare, the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which comes out next month, by the way. And I was like, you know what, man? That's a good idea because the beta is going to come out this weekend. It's going to be rolling out after that to other consoles and, for everybody else. After PlayStation gets their fucking little, prestigious weekend, it's going to roll out for everybody else. So, what do I expect? What do I want from Modern Warfare 2? Now, as much as you people know my life and you know me, I absolutely loved Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. I thought it was a reason for me to get back into Call of Duty. Because, for one, Modern Warfare 2, 2011 or 2009, whichever one it came out, it is my favorite Call of Duty game of all time. From the maps, the campaign, the times with your friends, the online play, just the modes, search and destroy, sniping, quick scope, no scope, knives only, rust. It was so much fun, right? While as the game itself, the gameplay, people thought it was unfair. It was, people could just cheese the game. It had hackers, yada, yada, yada. To me, that's not really the game's fault. That's the player's fault. And also maybe a little bit on the developers for not fixing those issues. Besides that, to me, it's a perfect Call of Duty game. And I'll be honest with you, Call of Duty 2019 is probably the best one since Modern Warfare 2, in my opinion, because of the sheer joy, the fun, the multiplayer experience, the campaign, the custom games that we actually found new ones like Gunfight and Gun Game and One in the Chamber in Modern Warfare. That's not a new mode, but we just kind of revamped it back up, with my friends and all that. Those made memories, and that was the whole part of Modern Warfare 2 back in the days. We made memories. Well, it kind of felt like the same thing happened with Modern Warfare 2019 when the pandemic struck and we were all cooped up in our houses. My buddies and me, we all played Modern Warfare, and it was just a time of our lives. It was so much fun, and we had the best time ever. And it had a very, very unique experience. The animations were so much better than in any Call of Duty that I've ever seen. The gun audio was so good. The destruction, the audio, everything about it, like this Modern Warfare 2019 was so good and so new, and it just felt like a brand new Call of Duty game. It felt like a brand new game. Since then, we've had two other games, Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard. Both, I've said on record, just don't feel like new Call of Duty games. They're new, but they don't feel new. They feel older. They feel not at the same quality as Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So going into this game, going into Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the 2022 version, what do I expect? What do I want to see? What do I want different? What do I want new? What do I want to stay the same? I want this game to feel completely different from Modern Warfare in terms of maybe not completely different. I want it to feel like a solid and earned update from the 2019 version. As crisp as that game is, even to this day, it could use an update in engine, graphics, lighting, art, all that stuff. It absolutely could use an upgrade. And I think that it will get an upgrade. And that's one of the things that I'm really hoping that it does. In terms of the multiplayer and the gameplay itself, as slow as the movement is in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I think that it could be even slower in Modern Warfare 2, or it needs to be. Just because, hear me out, Call of Duty has gone through some kind of change, I think, in terms of gameplay. Not because of its multiplayer, though. Because of its battle royale Warzone. It's created a new type of player that I think that has infected every other game out there. And that's the spazzy, jumpy, slide canceling first person shooter player. And I don't remember it ever being that bad before I played Warzone. I remember it being pretty casual and pretty, hardcore still. But once Warzone came out and people discovered slide canceling and jumping and just spinning around and, all this stuff, that kind of has just infected every first-person shooter gamer out there. And to me, as much as I even do it, I do it and I'm not that great at it, but I still do it. I feel like the movement has to be a tad bit more realistic, and that might actually make the game a tad bit slower. Because I just feel like nowadays with that style of play is just so spazzy and so annoying that it doesn't really make it all that fun for me. Or it takes me out of the realism of that game. Because that game had a lot of realism to it. But when you see that kind of stuff, just like that style of play just kind of take over every match and everything that you ever see, because the movement kind of allows it. I'll be honest with you, like the slide canceling should not even be a thing, but it is, and they could have taken it out, but they never did. That I think that is one thing that I would want to change. It's just the movement of the game, of the player in the game. I just feel like the way those players have been doing that for like this many years, like 2.5, almost 3, has got to go. I as much as I do it again, I easily could just deal without it. Like if we can just get back to like, normal movement now, and not just slide canceling or crouching or like jumping all over the place, I would appreciate that. I think that would be a good upgrade. Something else that I really, really want is for Warzone to be absolutely completely different. Completely different. If that means that they have to cut back on player count and map size, I am all in for that. All in for that. Because I'll tell you this. The reason I feel like the movement is like that is because the maps in Warzone are so big, and it's proven that mode of slide canceling actually increases your speed. It makes you move faster. And that's why it's kind of been like such a thing that gamers just do now. Like it's just part of their DNA when they play these games, is just to slide cancel. And I'm guilty of it. But what are you going to do? If that means that we make Warzone a more confined experience and not so massive, I think that would be a really cool thing to do. Truly, I do. Because it's not like I don't have hope for them to make a really good, decent, big map. But I just think that, if you can get like a really intense and a really like nail-biting battle royale and it not be super massive, I think that's a good thing. I'd much rather have that than some like, candy ass battle royale with 150, 40 players or whatever, with all these pickups and all that. Just make it more hardcore. Just make it more, badass. And I think that might actually be a thing in their Escape from Tarkov mode, their extraction mode. That might be where they put their intensity at in terms of the gameplay, and not in Warzone. I hope that's not completely true. I would love for that mode to be intense, but I would also love that to be intense in the Battle Royale as well. I think I think that, also some of the perks, the pickups, the stuff that you can get in Warzone, like, Dead Silence or, all the perk pickups, kind of make it a little candy ass. As much as I enjoy it, I would love for it to just be stripped to bare bones again. And just to see how people will play that now. No Dead Silence, no radar, no UAV, no heartbeat sensor. I know that's so like on brand for Call of Duty now. Like it's part of their identity, I think, in Warzone. But I feel like if you want a new experience, which I do want, a new Warzone experience, you got to strip that stuff out. You got to strip it out. I feel like if you can make a really intense experience on the gameplay itself, you need to strip out the candy ass. Strip out the candy ass, strip out the gimmick shit and all the campy shit, and just make it bare bones and duke it out. Just slug it out on the map. I would want that. I think that would be awesome. I don't think that they will do that, but You can only hope and dream. I expect this is tough. As popular as Warzone is, I feel like that they can't really drift too far of what they've become. As much as like people hate on Warzone, I don't. But as much as people do hate it, they gotta realize that so many people still fucking play this game, and it's kind of like built up its own identity from that. Like that's just kind of like what you expect out of Call of Duty. You expect to get loadouts in the Battle Royale. You expect to get perks. You expect to get this and that. Gulag is probably going to be a thing in the next one too. But I don't know. I really want these game modes to be completely changed. I think that if they delete the other Warzone, they kind of can't make it completely different because people will just not play it. And that's what I fear is like that they don't want to do. Like the Activision or Infinity Ward does not want to change it too much because then they'll lose their audience. As much as I am passionate and I want change in it and I want it to be a better mode and a better battle royale, you have to realize that I am not their target audience. No, their target audience is 10-year-olds that are brain dead and just want to, get back in the fight and go into the gulag and squat up and get their loadouts and do all that shit. That's all they want to do. And that's fine for them. That they're probably going to be the catered audience, though, and not me. So, I would love to be stripped down and go bare bones in the Battle Royale, for Warzone. I would love that. I think that'd be really sick. But that might be saved for their extraction mode, which could be really cool if they do it right, though. I mean, I've never played that game, Escape from Tarkov. I've seen it. It looks pretty freaking complicated. So I feel like, if Call of Duty is going to like try to get the Escape from Tarkov players in, they got to go pretty head on and pretty, put everything they have in it to make it pretty hardcore. If not, I don't really see a whole lot of people playing it, because there's still Battle Royale out there. And Battle Royale is still the fucking hot button game mode, even though it shouldn't be, but it is. That's just the climate of today's gamers. That's just kind of where we're at now. You have to know your audiences, and as much as it sucks, as much as how stupid it can be, what are you gonna do? So what do I expect? In concluding, I want an entire new feeling game to be, similar but definitely upgraded in terms of gameplay and art display or art design, direction, graphics. I want it to be upgraded for sure. I want the mechanics to be familiar yet new. I want it to be at a slower pace, believe it or not. And I want it to be more gritty, more realistic, not as campy or spazzy. We need to do something to get rid of this slide canceling thing. That just needs to be done with this game. It was cool in the moment. It was fine, but it's lasted too long. It's affected how I play every other fucking game that I have. So just kill it and be done with it. Because that's where it's spawned, I feel like. So get rid of that. Slow it down. Change the graphics up. Make it feel different, newer, grittier, more intense. And for the Battle Royale, just strip it down. Strip it down. Make it hardcore. Make it intense. And make it something that I want to win. Lately, I haven't been wanting to win Warzone games. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I haven't not been having the urge to win any Warzone games. You know why? Because I get a lot of points from opening chests and opening crates. Maybe deal with that too. Maybe that is take that out. Make it not be so campy, because Call of Duty, as campy as it is, it's one of the campiest games out there. But I feel like it could be so much better if it weren't as campy. I'll be honest. If it was more intense and more gritty. That's kind of what I loved about Battlefield back in the day, is it was more intense and more gritty. And then it kind of went campy, and I'm like, ugh, what the fuck? I play Call of Duty already, you know. I don't need another Call of Duty. That's far enough. And I feel like just with how this, Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone in general has been going, blueprints and skins and, having your guns spit out lasers and shoot beams out, I feel like that's not going to go away anytime soon, even in Modern Warfare 2. But I would love for if they took that out forever. It just makes the game more not as childish and stupid and campy. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I just get fucking, some of these skins and some of these blueprints and their tracers for the bullets. It's just like, what am I playing? What happened to this? This used to be fun. This used to be intense and realistic. We went from like Price and all these guys looking all military and all that to these, like, what are you out of a movie? I got John McClane, Rambo, Price, and a fucking a Titan from Attack on Titan. You're not Fortnite. You get your identity back as a military shooter game, and then just leave it at that. Get your identity back. You know what you are, Call of Duty. Don't become something you're not. And that something being Fortnite. All right. That's it. That's this week's episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, leave a comment. You can find this podcast on all podcast feeds at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva and on YouTube as well. Thank you again for listening. Thank you for watching. If you guys have a question, comment, concern, social media links are in the description. Hit those up. If you have a topic you want to send me or you want to see if this will make the show, shoot me up. Not shoot me up, but shoot me a comment, a message. Let me know. Let your voice be heard. Anyways, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.